All right. Peace, peace, and blessings. Haki Shakur Ami here, the Success Scholar, Honorable One Asafo. Thank you for tuning in. Oh man, let me go here. Let me pause for a second. All right. Peace, 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 and blessings here. Haki Ami here, the Success Scholar, Honorable One Asafo. So, lots of great things are going on. Wanted to go live really quick, and several things I want to discuss here. Of course, the Kwanzaa African tours, Africa, diplomacy, maturity, and success. I feel that this is a very, very needed topic that I've had to rather recently, engage in and ensure that people actually understood, my position. Um, of course, and many people have known me throughout the years, and but many people who may not know me and may not know my background, I think that it's appropriate to give some insights, and so I just want to give a slight history lesson, and so there was a major Kwanzaa, for instance, in Baltimore that I had the opportunity to attend, and it was a great experience with Brother Anthony Brada, and which was hosted by Everyone's Place Bookstore. And so that was a great experience, if I must say so myself. Um, so we are excited. We are excited to keep building, keep organizing, keep making progress to ensure that we are, just stepping up and making progress on every level. So many people may not know me, but born in the Baltimore area, and I'm going to send this to my a good sister psychologist, because I want an objective, honest assessment in terms of dissecting mental health, and how we deal with that in our own lives, and how we evaluate how we functionally interact with individuals, and not uh, take up for dysfunctional behavior, lack of development. And I use the term mental retardation to her, and she said that that's not the term that they use, but I'm somewhere around the ballpark when I see lack of development. And so, for those who may not know, from Baltimore, both my parents are still living. Thank God for both of them. And so, they did fairly okay. Father was a postal worker. Mother worked for the state of Maryland for both did like 40 years. They weren't together, but it was. I didn't starve necessarily, but growing up in the Baltimore area, you still experience different things, right? And so, things weren't as bright, but I was fortunate enough to. I went, for instance, directly into the United States Navy, and I received an honorable discharge, and so I was functional enough to make it, to do well enough on the ASVAB score, and to make it through boot camp without any mental challenges. And of course, many people make it through that, and they actually, they still have challenges. So let's just evaluate that. I'm not suggesting that my honorable discharge out of the Navy means that somehow I'm well rounded or better. So what I will do is take people along a path to show that while how I arrived here, right here at this particular time. And I want you all to realize how I have to adjust my own good mental health, because I don't want anyone, for instance, believing somehow that I'm, just unconscious of my emotions and my intelligence, and that I, am out of control. So what I will do with that is basically dissect many steps, throughout my life. And I will break it down based upon some of our scholars' analysis in terms of, liberation, in terms of healing, in terms of, building, just re-Afghanization, nation building. And so I did the 5.5 years honorable discharge, but, got out, it needed to be present, in my mother's life, had, family challenges with my stepfather, having, succumbing to various types of alcohol abuse, unfortunately. And so, I realized that, someone needed to be, in and around the Baltimore area for that. And fortunately, over the past, got out and I did different things throughout in Baltimore, throughout my time, and up until age 25, to about 30, didn't necessarily have direct position. And then I went and I got into the fire service, and so where I've been for 21 years. But let me just go back in terms of, just in terms of my development from age 19, 20 to age maybe 30, 31. I read 100 books a year for 11 years on a diverse amount of topics. And so what that did, that put me in a different category of healing, of knowledge, of wisdom, and personal esteem, right? So when we talk about leadership and confidence and, shall I say, just being well-roundedness, reading these different books, certainly grew me up in on a different level, right, than the average person. Because people, for instance, while I am in, down in Norfolk, Virginia, some people, at Hampton University, they getting their life in. I'm reading and studying. I'm reading Naeem Akbar. I'm reading Dr. Francis Chris Welsing. I'm reading Hakeem Edebudi. I'm like reading real adult thinkers, real scholars' work. I'm going to a few different lectures. But, also experiencing my professional development with being around a lot of different people, a lot of different, classes and races and, different ethnic groups all in the Norfolk, Virginia area. And so, I've been around the different people, and fortunately, there wasn't any major, trauma that I experienced. As I mentioned, I was honorably discharged. So, sometimes people with these psychological problems, they get a other than honorable discharge or dishonorable discharge. So let me just say I survived that. So let's just, get that out the way. So that's a blessing to be an honorable discharge veteran. I wasn't injured, nothing. Maybe a little PTSD, but let's talk. We'll talk about the PTSD that I maybe having. But I mean, I don't know. I was just on a ship. Yeah, it was separated from everybody, but I got into good health. I got in good health there. I educated myself, and so it was an interesting developmental experience, and so. There I got out and did some things, showed up in these, cultural communities, went through different schools of thoughts, of course, and so, I mean, during my military time, I just didn't, I saw, what my older brother experienced throughout his life and his courtships and things like that, and many other of the other males in my family. And so I realized that I didn't want to experience life and the challenges they've had throughout their male-female relationships. And so I sort of had some knowledge about what not to do, what, how to avoid certain dynamics. And so, I had that in my mind, and throughout, and as I got out, being in Baltimore, and just continued to interact with a lot of different people, did different types of business things. Had a store at one time, on North Avenue. But other than that, I, certainly studied at African World Books, Everyone's Place bookstore, the bookstore in Baltimore, Maryland, where I became very, very enlightened by many of the thinkers or any other authors that have put books out. Of course, the Queen of Fuwa, many people who come through on a lecture model. I was one of the big proponents of the brothers and Soul Vibers Nation. I was one of their fairly larger promoters, of their lectures that they did, and attended many of the lectures that they did, and for quite some years, and through after that I went to DC, a lot, just creating networks and friends and relationships, of course. And one thing I learned is that my knowledge took me to different spaces, going to these, the communiversities, and, many people, for instance, they, stayed here in Baltimore while I was going in lectures, getting lectures in D.C. at Howard University, and the brothers from PKV, and several other different events. I would go to the different Kwanzas, for instance, in D.C. Now, I just wanted to mention all that because you're getting a lot of different knowledge, and so but what am I? Let's just go back. I'm not like experiencing any trauma during these periods. There's no anger, there's no poverty, there's no homelessness, there's no drug use, there's no alcohol. I stopped drinking, like, let me just say, well, yes, I will admit, like, so I started drinking probably like 16-ish, and, I maybe smoked a little something, weed, like, but, fortunately it wasn't extreme, and I stopped like around 22. Like I said, it's crazy. I know it sounds crazy. 22 years old, 22, maybe 23, because I was, just sometimes I would go and hang in clubs, and I would bring books with me. I was so like addicted to reading that I would bring books to clubs, right? And the people would like look at me like, you really bringing a book? It was, I was growing. I was 22, 23, and I realized something around that age. I was like, these people, aren't reading like me. I have like a bright future. I was beginning to advance as well in the Navy, so I was making a little bit more money than, these E1s, E2, E3s. I made rank my first time up. So, I was sort of doing like okay, like during that time. And I didn't have any like children, and sometimes I would see, some of these brothers, they would be like E1s, E2s with 3 children, and their wives just be like, not, very well together or whatever. And so, just kind of struggle families. And I was just like, man, I don't know what the hell I would do if I had 2 children. If I had two children, and two or 3 children, and I had to live off this, and the wife just didn't work this or whatever, what I'm saying, just not particularly educated. Now my brother, he got with and stayed with someone that really wasn't that wasn't that well rounded. So, but anyway, so so again, coming back to when I was when I after I got back and started working and started organizing here in the Baltimore area, met different groups, came across, and I been in different spaces with many different groups, and I believed that is a key thing. Another key thing is not just reading books, but getting out and listening to people that were smarter than me, right? Listening to, responsible adult elders, conscious elders, right? That, are willing to teach me, what's going on out here in the world, right? And at one time, for instance, I ran for office, but that was like a little late. I think that was maybe a few years, like in my 30s, maybe 32, 33, or something like that. And, because, from 25 to 30s, I heard a lot of, black activists, black conscious leaders saying things about, yeah, we need black people in office, and but when I ran, I didn't see none of these. Matter of fact, even when I opened the store on North Avenue, I didn't see none of these African centered red, black, and green. I mean, now Jabari came, not TK, even Donnie Glover, but I didn't see those. Some of the few I remember, but I didn't see none of these people that are out here now. Like this, pretending like they've been around for the past 30, 40, 50 years or whatever. So I don't know where you were, but I know that I was at Jabari's lectures. I was listening to 1010 during that time when Larry Young was on. I was listening to, shout out to Brother Tyrone Powers. I was listening to his work, and then later Carl Nelson came on the scene. So I've been, like listening and staying connected to things, but, I know that some people are popping up on the scene, and they older, but they haven't like been active and around, like for real. And that's why I'm just like, you weren't around during like the Survivors, Jabari period. Like you weren't there when all these lectures Dr. Africa was coming through. So now, just bringing it up. So, again, we're talking about mental health as well. We're talking about abuse. We're talking all these things, and community leadership. These are some of the things that I wanted to dig into as well, because I think it's essential. So, and I'm evaluating myself, and at one particular time, when you are, angry young activist, I mean, you may have some, disagreements and things of that nature. And so, but, I've had to learn over the years. Look, everybody not going to be where some people are. You can't force people. You can't force not particular types of knowledge. It has to, people have to be motivated, inspired to learn, and they have to see, some good qualities coming from you in order to learn from you, right? And so, and yes, and I've participated, in many different causes over the past few decades, and this year was a great year. So I did a few, and the greatest, this was a really good one with Brother Anthony Broder that Nati did at Owner of Everyone's Place. And let me just say, I know, and I'm not going to say it by myself, but I know, for instance, that I, gave Nati, his proper flowers at, more than a few times, but very tactfully at the State of the Black World Conference. I was the keynote speaker there. Someone allowed for me to be, opening, welcoming address to Maryland. So yes, I did that. I gave Nati a shout out during that time, the owner of Everyone's Place. And so, not just that, but I wanted to mention that in context that, there's some history that many people may or may not know, or they may not care. But some people certainly, and not just that. Let me just go back. Not just that, giving them a shout out, but I've put books into real workers, thinkers, builders, successful Black people's hands more than anybody. I will say that. I mean, outside of course what he does, but that direct hand to hand kind of thing. I've been able to bless people. With that. And And so, just speaking about mental health, and so I don't have any children, so I don't have any reason to have women angry issues or baby mama angry at a black woman issues. And so, granted, of course, there's going to be many different levels of disagreements at particular times. And so, and, and fortunately for me, I've always aspired to more in life. I've always wanted to, because much is given, much is expected, and I expect more out of myself. And I know, for instance, that when you have more types of knowledge, you have to still position yourself, because not everybody's, gonna be your cheerleader, right? Not everybody's gonna value what you bring to these different tables, right? And so, over the past few years, I've just continued to evolve, right? And now I'm to the point where I don't need or have to go in some of these spaces, right? Because again, and not that you're trying to like be like bigger, but it's like sometimes when you have particular pieces of knowledge that some people certainly around. I've been to Kenya 2 times, Tanzania 3. Some of these Kwanzaa celebrators, and some of the Kwanzaa celebrators in Baltimore, for instance, they've never been to an East African country, not a one single time. And I've been 5 times, five times, that I pay for out of my own pocket. Because remember, I do have a job. Thank God I have to kiss, some people's behind. And yes, I have, tried to create different entrepreneurial things to be independent, and I always strive to do that. But, listen, I know we have these different economic crews of who we feel like we should support, what organization we should support. And let me just be honest, like if some of you out here listening, if you think somehow that you just gonna live on the generous donations of a few people, and you expect to have like some uppity lifestyle as well, traveling 4 or 5 times a year to Africa, and you hanging out with people who making $30,000-$40,000, it's not going to add up in the real world, where you got to pay mortgage, or pay for a car, and hopefully you got a halfway decent car, especially if you want to drive places up and down the East Coast, or on the other side of the country, or Detroit, Chicago, wherever. Like hopefully you'll have a halfway decent automobile. So all these things, you have to experience life to be able to do certain things. And I know that some people, they can't conceptualize all of these different dynamics, because they, like, let me just quote Pastor Jamal Brown, because you ain't never been nowhere. And so, coming back, I just wanted to lay out some of those things. And and there aren't that many people, for instance. And yes, I did speak about, sometimes, yes, I will, I have said things like, yes, I should be speaking, in other words, or I should be able to say more than 1 minute at some spaces, or but I now, to the today, let me just say today, I don't feel the need, like at any time. Now there's been sometimes, for instance, at a Garvey Day, or a Black History event or something like that, where I feel like, yeah, I just got back from Kenya, or I just went to the African Union, and we talking about African Liberation Day. That would be awesome. That would be awesome for if somebody had enough forward thought to say, damn, this brother went to the African Union in Addis, Ethiopia. Let's Let's get his ideas. Like let's let him share some insights about the African Liberation Day. Like, so the question becomes, so what do you think, that somebody don't deserve to speak, or they don't deserve to speak for more than 30 seconds? Like, let's just dissect that. But anyway, I'm gonna digress. Let me get back into the discussion about mental health. Like, how does one continue to grow and heal? So what I'm saying, some of these experiences are building my confidence, right? And Amos Wilson talked about this in terms of healthy relationships, and he did some research about people who made like a certain amount, and he was talking like $50,000 at that time, couples, more the couples, because there's what you call, and even Steve Coakley talked about, a stability threshold, and we can equate that in the context of families and relationships. And so some people, for instance, and I'm not, here's the thing, like, you can overcome certain things, especially if you healthy, you positive, you show up around people that's not consuming drugs and alcohol. Like, if you're working every day, like, if you working a job, like, you don't have time, for instance, unless you are broke. See, and that's another thing, what some of you may not know about the poverty, the low self-esteem that poverty creates, the lack of confidence that poverty creates. And many individuals haven't necessarily tried to overcome poverty. Many of these elder black men, for whatever reason, and I've never, like, and I'm not, this is not about like getting, 6-7 bedroom house. One sister just told me, I had a 7-bedroom house, and now she's living like, I'm like, man, what's wrong with you? I don't get it. I mean, I ain't saying you gotta go from 7 bedroom to an 8 bedroom, or 7 to a 4 or whatever, but like, you live in the absolute one of the worst areas, and and you're trying to fix it up, but it's just bad. It's just bad. Like, I'm just saying, like, some places, man, I'm just like, you gotta have your own peace. No hard feelings, and you do things while you're young. But there's got to be a time when you got to grow up, and you ain't gonna be no old person walking around. Listen, I've worked in these streets, and when people are on these substances, I mean, you can preach to you blue and green in the face about you cleaning up the community. Yeah, some communities can be saved, but you ain't gonna do it by yourself, and a sister not gonna do it by herself with some of these men that may be out of their minds, right? So, going back, and let me just kind of bring it up to what I'm trying to basically get at. And so what you have, for instance, and let me just shout out Brother Anthony Brada again. I shouted out Nati, but I was able to be in a film, for instance, with Dr. Renoko Rashid. So that's why I was at the Kwanzaa, because Anthony Brada was there, Nati was doing it, and Anthony Brada and Cyrus the Babla as well, allowed for me to be in a film. Out of all the people, and Dr. Renoko Rashidi, he'd been to over 130 countries, 130, and I'm going to play this back like all next couple of days, so I want everybody to hear it. So he'd been to 130 countries, and I was in the film, right? So now let's let's bring this up. So, and my point, if I, for instance, have like a temper at certain states, let me just dissect. There are times, for instance, there are particular levels of operations where it's going to take different types of communication style. Let me just give some examples. Like, when you are y'all remember, I would play this not Full Metal Jacket. What's that? Few Good Men, not Few Good Men. What's the one? You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. Now, I'm simply saying there are some situations that many of, let me just be specific, Baltimore Black conscious Pan-Africanist elders and even DC elders or any Pan-Africanists aren't going to understand. You never been to Africa. You never had groups going to Africa. You never had, receive a call 2, 3 in the morning. I'm just going to be hypothetical. I hear people saying stories like this. I hear people saying that some people get calls 3 o'clock in the morning saying, "Oh, we can't get on the plane," or "we have to change our flight," or we somebody we didn't get to the plane on time and we have to get new flights. For some people, we need 12 or 10 or $5,000. It's 3 in the morning, but can you send $5,000? Like, I've heard stories like that. And here's the thing. There's no way that people should be getting stuck in Africa. Listen, this is the kind of things that will drive your stress and anxiety and blood pressure high as hell. So I'm just saying I heard stories about that. Not that it happened to me or anything. I'm just telling you, I've heard some stories about that. I've also heard some stories that some people, for instance, that doing like trips here, like it was a few days before the trip and they didn't have a bus because of the money. Right? That's a possibility. And so if somebody is upset and angry and not angry, but communicating, for instance, in a not so pleasant tone, in a military type tone, like, get this damn thing fixed. Like, what in the hell? Like, what, so I don't want to be sued, first and foremost. I don't want to be sued. Here's the thing. I'm not, being a responsible, here's you talk about mental health. Who wants to be in debt? Who wants credit card debt? Who wants poor credit? Who wants poor housing? So who wants to be homeless? Anybody? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. I want you to raise your hand. Who wants these things for themselves? So in order to accomplish that, you need to do certain things at the right time, right? You gotta, like for me, I purchased a home at age 31, and some people, I know some black men that did not. As I was looking over the years, I started reflecting about how some brothers, getting 40, 50, 60 years old, and they don't have, a decent house. I mean, look, a house is what you make it. I know, regardless, not everybody makes the right decision at the right time for themselves and put themselves forward. And, but, I've invested, for instance, in sisters and in the community, putting my personal career, on the side, doing a lot of other things when, hell, I could have just been sitting up, just at work and just not, having any other things going on in life. And, put people with my credit cards, and thank God, I'm almost, let me tell you, I just paid off my water bill that I've had, tinkering, for years. I paid it down, paid it up, paid it down, but, it felt good. It felt good. I still have some credit card thing. I might should have paid that off first, but I just was like, let me just pay this one off. And now, a little bit of credit. I mean, they increased my credit, on both of my cards. The two, well, even on the other one. I got two Amexes and Discover. I don't know. But I don't know why I got that there, Discover. I need to get rid of that thing. I don't even like it. But I just say that to say that I've made people's dreams of going to Africa reality. And let me just say, of course, now I could have gone with many different people, Professor Smalls, and I was almost ready to go again, and thank God I didn't. Like I would still be like in like a ridiculous debt to this day if I would have tried to go. That and this is where you need this is where you need a team. This is where you need some economically productive humans that to ride with you, right? Now, understanding, like, here's the thing, like, this is a complex society. This is a complex world. And I know, for instance, that, once upon a time, at one point, people have this little thing, men providing, men protecting. Now, and like I get that some elders, black men, think that they are protecting, but they ain't providing a damn thing. Like, so you can't have it one or the other. Like, if somebody gonna call you 2, 3 in the morning to to finance somebody's flight from Africa, or vice versa, I think you should put yourself in that lifestyle, right? You should put yourself in that Pan African space to be able to understand the dynamics of communications, right? Because this is some, you can't be an age set, you can't be older and involve yourself intellectually in something that you have no experience around, right? So I'm just saying that some people can't speak on some of these topics. You can't speak to going to an East African country unless you've actually been there. And there's no disrespect meant, but I just say that to say that it reaches a point in life, if your business IQ and your entrepreneurial abilities and your mental health and your education, your training, your skills, and your support network, whoever they may be, your church, mosque, synagogue, whoever, your mama and your daddy, if your inheritance, your pensions, your assets, if they aren't paying your lifestyles, it's gonna create like some kind of, somebody's gonna have to contribute to this, right? And so I'm asking, for instance, for elders that think somehow that people who may speak affirmatively are disrespectful or something to that effect. Well, let me just say, I'm not a criminal, and that's another thing. I don't have a criminal record. I don't have any records of stalking or violence and fights or skirmishes. No police reports of any of that. Nobody's done any so, and yes, and but so here is the dynamic. If, for instance, some people want to sort of capture different, a flock or a particular, people want to build their harem, right? People, some of these older black men, they want to be like Elijah Muhammad. No disrespect, I mean, or however, whatever you did, Baba Elijah Muhammad, that's what you did. Like, I was just looking back at some of that last night. So, I know, for instance, over the years, as I've grown, and here's the thing, like, there hasn't been many, let me just name off some of the things. Who's gone to the White House? Who has gone to the White House with the Maryland Black Caucus? Me. Who did a tour at the United Nations with many African Union delegates? Me. Who met an African president? Me. Who was in Kenya this year with a governor? Me. Who paid? Me. Who had groups going to Zimbabwe? Yes, that people that I knew from Philly. What about South Africa? They were my connections. Me. Tanzania, I went, yes, in Kenya, and yes. So, who put up a significant amount of money for all of that? Me. Yes, me. All of it. Yes. So when I don't feel, for instance, that I am not like a felon or an offender or a scammer. I never did any PPP scams or anything like that. As some people wanted to do. Thank God. Thank God. So in terms of the type of interaction, and I know, for instance, what I know that I need to do, and of course, and I already know that I'm out here big enough that I will attract the right people. The right people will connect with me on different levels, but I'm not seeing enough success. I don't know if for instance, the Pan Africanist ideology or people, I know, and not to put anybody in their own box, but or categories, because we live here, whatever. But I'm not believing that uh, that Pan Africanism means that you have to absolutely struggle here, right? And I don't want to go to jail. So unless, for instance, any of these elders, for instance, in Baltimore, feel that they, want to, contribute financially to people, you don't understand. This is above your pay grade. This is above some people that are older than me, above their pay grade. And I know that counterintelligence programs do exist. I know jealousy do exist. That's out here. But I would hope sincerely. I've seen other conscious movements have supporters and followers and clear thinking people that protected them, right? That protected the real workers, the real builders, and that's what I'm saying that I am. Like so, but if, for instance, there's a case that's some, and here's the thing, this is where I'm at now. I could just work my job and come home and do some local things and feel very achieved. I know that some, and you go back and look at my video. Go back and look at my video, Selling Dope to Get to Africa, where I dissected those dynamics of the mindset of a Sarah student SETI. What is the mindset of someone that would say that they sold drugs to go to Africa, right? Yes. Go check out my video. I mean, he said it, and Umar repeated it too. On his notorious rant. And so I'm simply saying, y'all, that look, listen, I'm from the streets of Baltimore. I almost lost my life in the streets of Baltimore. Like what happened to Malcolm X. Y'all remember that part when he ran out of somewhere? Like, so I'm just saying it wasn't that close, but it was damn near close enough. What I'm saying. Like, I've been robbed in the streets of Baltimore. And I'm not. I don't involve myself. I'm not like a violence interrupter type of thing. Like, I'm not out there dealing with people, and I shouldn't, I do not have to, at my age, shouldn't have to have conversations with adult black men, like adult men in terms of, but I understand that sometimes the mentality, the anger, the rage of not feeling accomplished or achieved or successful or well-rounded or revered. Look, we all don't get the proper respects that we may not deserve. And what I'm willing to do, if any sister, for instance, have been aggrieved, in the past and the future, please send them my name. Look, I mean, whatever happened, it's never been that extreme. It hasn't been that extreme, and ultimately, I will certainly discontinue or not be in a space. So here's the thing with where I'm at now. It's a new so-called year, Gregorian calendar year. Um, I won't be. You don't have to worry about me no more. You don't have to worry about anybody complaining or saying I'm mean, because ain't nobody call you 3 o'clock in the morning. Ain't nobody, almost have you sitting out, getting sued, looking weird because a bus isn't available. Ain't nobody possibly have you ready to go in like prison, like, or getting charged for something. So I'm like, look, if I say something, it's because I need to protect my pension. I'm a quasi-public figure on some levels. Like, I don't need people, reading stories of what I tried to do. Like, that's not happening. That's not happening. So I'm not desperate for money like that. I'm not trying to get money to do things that I can't afford to do. I don't have no addictions like that. I have a job and my credit is getting better. So that's what I'm thinking about at my age as a responsible adult. I would hope that somewhere along the line in your mind that you would get out here and want to hunt more. Like that you would get out here and want to do for self so that you can be a productive, so your woman, I hope that a woman would respect, some men, and it doesn't always happen. And I'm not like, yeah, listen. I'm not here to please or appease any woman at this time and in the future. Like, look, I have enough accolades. Let me go back to my who thing. Who has gotten an award from Dr. Eric Connor? Me. Well, maybe somebody else has as well, but me at Howard University. Dr. Eric Connor. This woman. The first. I got the Eric Connor Excellence Award. Who got a humanitarian award in New York? Me. Haki Ami. Who got an honorary doctorate last year? Me. Dr. Haki Shakur Ami, the Success Scholar. Me. Let's see. Who organized the Mandela Fellows? Big. Me. That's who. Who do I trust? Me. So I'm simply saying, whether anybody think that that's valuable or big enough, I know in my mind, who spoke at ABC at the Black Men's Expo? Me. That's who. This year. Me. So, and now, all that is good, but I'm getting to the basics, man. I'm getting to the basics of food, clothing, shelter. Doctor, hold on. Wait a minute, let me find this book. Pause, hold on. I left Brother Browder's book in the car. But he talks about what Dr. John Henry Clarke say. He talks about what Dr. John Henry Clarke say in his book. I'm appreciative to getting that book. I appreciate being there. At first I was gonna just grind it out, but I'm happy that I was there. And a lot of people were happy to see me. They haven't seen me in a while. They hear about me, and people always praise me, but not everybody. But here's the thing. I want for the true thinkers to find a delicate balance with any and all of this, like find a respectable median, right? Because some people will plant like a negative seed, of jealousy and envy, and you will miss your blessing. And so here's the thing. I know that there's some good people out there, and I'm working really. I'm focused. I'm focused now. I'm just truly focused on what need to happen. And I'm feeling like that there's going to be some big wins coming, right? I want to, a better, like crib, like Dr. Francis Wilson said, the crib. We're going to the cribs. I'm sorry, no, I'm just joking, but yes, I wanted to, have, do something nice for my family and my mother. Well, that's pretty much all I care about. I mean, I ain't gonna say all I care about, but yeah, like, but I mean, and all the future comings, the people that's gonna be, making an exodus. I'm perceiving. I look at all these other people that some of you people look up to, and I'm just like, all right, just because I ain't get out and do whatever, but because here's the thing, I don't fit into your mode. Like I'm a normal brother, like that, like a normal civic-minded brother that shows up to do things in the community with real community cred, not like I'm gonna come out on Kwanzaa and put some some red, black, and green and put my fist in the air, like just doing real stuff, man. I don't know when the fists and all that is going to manifest some real power, but I studied Dr. Amos Wilson's work. I read Blueprint 3 times. I've got the book in the right people's hands. Read what's that one? I'm sorry. Dr. Claude Anderson's work. Got his book into dozens of people's hands. Dr. Andre Bunley, many. I spoke at Dr. Claude Anderson. Who spoke at Dr. Claude Anderson's first Harvest Day? Me. That's who. I was the first opening speaker there in D.C. at Chubb Rock. Not Chubb Rock. What's the name? What's the D.C. Chuck Brown. Chuck Brown. Me. That's who. I spoke there at the park there. So I'm simply saying, I know this is pretty long, but I just had to just give context, and I'm going to keep replaying this. So you might be catching the 3rd, 4th, 5th replay. I'm just going to play it on my Facebook because that's where people see, as well as my LinkedIn. But here's the thing. I'm just going to another level. I'm ready for people that are intellectually confident enough to go to another level. I don't care what your so-called education, class, degrees, fraternity, sororities, or I'm just going to keep on working. I have something to offer everyone, some depth, some networks, a good phone full of the right context. I got some emails, so I can reach out and touch someone. But here's the thing. I just want you all to just do the right thing. Do the right thing. Protect my name. Protect my image. Protect my reality, right? Protect my person, right? That's what I need. If you see something, say something. If you see some COINTELPRO, say something, right? Like, we deserve peace. We deserve tranquility. I'm making some progress. I will excuse myself from any places or spaces or people who have been offended. I'm going on with my life. I'm making progress. I will go away like Shaka Zulu. I will go away or whatever, so out of whatever little kingdom you think you supposed to control and own and dominate and have power over, I don't need that space. There's enough space, what they call living space, like the Nazis used to say, right? They living space. They wanted more. Is that what Sikha mean? If I'm not mistaken, or My Struggle. That's the Mein Kampf book, but that was one of their calls, like to say that they needed living space. And so some people, they have their territory. So I'm like, look, we don't even have no damn territories here in Baltimore. You don't have no territories in Maryland. We barely own a damn block anywhere. So if anybody, let's get upset with some of if we real Garveyites or Afrocentric people, let's get upset with people when our dollars are being extracted out of our community. And I've been a part of, and ain't one a single African Synod or activists there on Pennsylvania North Avenue where they were selling green meat. It was me. I was writing for the newspaper, Santown Winchester Viewpoint newspaper, and it was me and some senior older black women. I love my elder black women. Like, don't get this twisted. I did the Return of the Goddess, Sister Alexis K. Tyler, Sister Mia Miata, Abundance Child, the other sister from Delaware. I miss them, my good sisters, man. I was the only brother to protect the previous black mayors when they were confronted by these 4Ds at many times. At many times, I defended Rollins, Blake, Pugh, Dixon, right? As they were being attacked by many of these black men that you all don't have selective outrage about so-called men disrespecting black women. Because these were outward and vocal and verbal and nasty and hostile, right? I mean, over small things. Didn't even affect their little credit. Didn't, like me, didn't affect, nothing, see? And that's where I'm just like, see, that's the power. That's where jealousy will get people, man. Jealousy. It was the ninjas that killed Malcolm. We could talk about FBI or whatever. It was the ninjas. They did it. It was all throughout the Muhammad Speaks. All the dropping of the chopping off his head. All of that. So I'm simply saying, don't allow for anybody to put a battery up your ass, put a battery in your back. Don't be a flunky follower. Don't be a I know some people need their crews or whatever. They need people to be around. They just got to be around somebody. They can't move without nobody. And I don't get it. Because I remember people, would think something was wrong with me because I went to PKV lectures. That's Irritated Genie and Kush the Black Unifier. I mean, no shade. I mean, you going all the way down there, brother. I'm like, man, these brothers got some unique knowledge. They trying to get, what I'm saying? They trying to build. I mean, at least speaking, what I'm saying? So I was able to go and get some knowledge from them. Anyway, I'm going to head on out. I'm heading to this political event. I was invited again. So, yes, I do get invited to places. People do want me in places. And they're happy to see me. And I love going and being around happy people. So, all right, y'all. So, stay tuned in. Holla at the Success Scholar. Dr. Haiki Shakur Ami is here. I'm ready to go to another level. Thank you all. You all have a beautiful, beautiful new year. I look like too much work. I can't be going every damn well. I ain't going to all these fundraisers. Lord. So that's all, y'all. And again, get Dr. Eric on the book. You cannot be a Pan-Africanist. You cannot be a Pan-Africanist. I'm taking cards. I'm taking your cards. I'm taking your Pan-African card. Do you know who she is? You know what she did for the liberation of Africa? Listen, I rest my case. Case dismissed. Hakeem Shakur, y'all. I'm out. Peace and blessings.